I am very excited to announce our next session about advocacy. So we are going to invite our outgoing South Quad Director, Scott Cornelius, and who is also the incoming president, and Liz Cacavano, my predecessor, as the new incoming Northeast Quad Director, and they are going to talk about their session titled Universal Advocacy.
Hello.
There we go.
Okay, let's see if this
works. Liz.
Hey, Scott, what's up? Are you ready to talk about advocacy?
I'm so ready.
Okay, let's see if this works.
Looks beautiful.
Thank you. Okay, so hi everyone. I'm Elizabeth Cacavano, and that's Scott.
Nice.
And our topic is universal advocacy. So some things that we're going to be talking about during the session today is advocating for change, learning teaching culture policies, the 2021-2022 AIAS advocates, and then the 2021-2022 advocacy committees. So once again, hi, this is me. I was the chair of the Social Justice Task Force, which is one of the committees we'll be chatting about today, and I'm the incoming Northeast Quad Director.
And that's me. I am the 2020-2021 South Quad Director for a few more hours, and then after those hours, I will become the new national president.
So our first topic is advocating for change. So we're going to talk about 3 different subcategories through this. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is advocating inwardly. So who is your advocate? Is it a family member, a close friend, or is it even yourself that you could talk to kind of honestly about your problems? Recognizing that everyone needs an advocate is extremely important, even when you look in the mirror. And as people who frequently advocate for others, as we do in the AIAS, we are often looking to continue giving even when our tank is dry. So creating the space to realize that it is okay to step back, even if it's only an hour a week, to rest, do a hobby, do a puzzle, or even more becomes increasingly important. And when an issue comes up, how do you advocate for yourself? Do you honor how you feel? The last year and a half has shown many of us the true side effects of burnout, and we're constantly sitting by our desks, on our computers, on our phones, always by screens. And while we're feeling this extreme burnout, many of us may feel like we need to take a walk, do some yoga, even chat with a friend. And advocating for yourself can be as simple as peeling away from your work and taking the time to go for a walk or get a cup of water. So the importance of self-advocacy is not only stepping up, but realizing when you have to step down as well. And then the next topic is advocating outwardly. I like to think of this section as more of a tangible aspect of advocating as well as representing. So this could be having someone that looks like you or knows your struggles or is in your community that is representing you, or being that person. Volunteering in communities that need help, spending monies in communities that need help, and realizing what is you or your community's bigger picture. What are the goals that your community is looking for? And then how do you advocate on a larger scale? Is it volunteering? Is it donating? Is it inspiring just by talking about the issues that you and your community are going through? And then advocating the bigger picture. So what drives you to help your local and global community? Being a good advocate is recognizing that advocacy definitely looks different for everyone. And this could be through visibility. So speech, blog posts, conversations, graphics, protests, and so many different levels of intensity among those different things. And once again, representation. Knowing your audience and reading the room are critical for effective advocacy, and not everyone needs to be advocated for the same way, just like how you don't advocate for everyone the same exact way. And some ways to do this are promoting the interests or cause of someone or a group of people. And this is especially important when you're thinking about who it is that you are advocating for. There is not a singular way to advocate. So look at different topics, look at different options, look towards your community, the person that you're advocating for, or even your environment. and look for what exactly it is that they need, and then explore different methods of advocacy.
So this is my section about learning and teaching culture policies. So if you don't know what a learning and teaching culture policy is, it's kind of evolved from studio culture. We love the LTCAG. So we're going to talk a little bit about the model learning and teaching culture policy and how you can advocate for students at your school. So the model LTCP, my homies from group 4 in the last activity we did already know about this, but the model LTCP was created a couple of years ago to help students form a basis for their own school's learning and teaching culture policy, which is meant to form a dynamic relationship between you and the administration and the faculty at your school, so you can all ensure a positive culture and a healthy culture moving forward. So it's not meant to be a weapon to fight your faculty or anything like that. It's meant to be an agreement, very healthy. And so how do you use these documents exactly to advocate to your faculty and administration? You take this document and you say, hey, listen, years ago, we agreed on this together. Here's your signature right here. You can't overwork us. You can't require us to spend thousands of dollars on these materials that are unnecessary, this and that and the other. So it helps you have this really strong basis for whatever you're advocating for the students in your school. So that link, I know you can't click on it because it's in a PowerPoint, but if you want to write it down, and I can also send it in the chat, goes to our learning and teaching culture policy, and also a few other resources that are one-pagers. One we were talking about earlier is a one-pager on what's important in studio culture, especially in a virtual setting. I don't remember what the title of that one is, but it's really important right now, especially as we're moving back from a virtual setting to an in-person setting and everything's kind of up in the air. We're not sure where we are. Thank you for sending that. But yeah, that's a really important something to check out, because sometimes faculty get kind of wrapped up in their own worlds and they forget that they're creating a studio culture, and it's kind of a lot of this is on them. So it's your job to advocate for students. Another thing I wanted to mention is a town hall structure. We advocated for this even before the pandemic started, but now it's more important than ever to hold town halls with your students and your school. We like to I just graduated from Oklahoma State. If you don't know, in Oklahoma State, we like to have a town hall where we say no faculty are allowed. There are no adults here. It's just us students, and we talk about everything going on in the school. And we have all kinds of discussions on, little things that might not even relate to studio culture that well, and then big things that we really need to work on changing. And then we take all of those thoughts and questions and concerns to the faculty. Take it to a faculty meeting. They should agree to this if they have any notion of what's good for their school. And present all these things to them as a student leader. That's your duty. And you tell them, this is what our students are concerned about. This is what's going on in our school that you may not know about. And they can work together on solving those problems. And so that's kind of you as a student leader serving as this pipeline of communication between the students and the faculty. So that's a town hall structure. And if you have any questions about that, always feel free to let me know, or any of your quad directors or ambassadors. And you can always also email ltc@aias.org, which goes to whatever committee is in charge of learning and teaching culture policies, which hasn't been unveiled yet. So we'll learn more about that tomorrow night.
And then our next topic is the 2021-2022 AIAS Advocate. So I don't know if Haley is here. She may be here. If she is,
hello.
Flag me down. Well, hello. And then Julia Andor. So they're each going to talk about their topic for the year and explain what it is exactly being an advocate is for them. Is it possible to spotlight them? I don't know how to do that.
I can do that right now.
Thank you.
Doesn't look like Haley's here yet, but Julia's here.
Hello.
Hello. So yeah, we just want to hear about why you applied to be an advocate. What does it mean to you to be an advocate? Maybe you can run us through the process of that super quick, and then we'll go into your topic as well.
Yeah, sure. So I applied to be an AIAS advocate because the AIAS has always been kind of a reassurance to me that you don't just have to be an architect that kind of is a developer and like is kind of fueled by all of these things that aren't so great in the world. And I think the AIAS really stands for some great values and some great things that it kind of reaffirms for students that there's more than one path, and you don't have to be a type A architect that does all of these things that maybe you don't agree with. You should follow your own path. So then that kind of brings me to my topic, and I probably should introduce myself. My name is Julia Andor, and I'm the president of the NYIT Long Island campus chapter. And this year I'll be advocating for unhoused people. And that's because housing is an issue that's talked about a lot in architecture, but we don't often talk about the humanity of the people that are suffering from that problem. So that kind of plays with the phrase like the homeless versus like someone that's suffering from homelessness, that there's like a kind of play there that shifts the responsibility from the issue that's being faced from the person. And then homelessness is an issue that's only grown since the pandemic has started. So it's definitely worthy of our attention at this moment. And it's also something that's intersectional to all social justice issues, as disproportionately LGBTQ plus people, Native people, Black, Latinx, and disabled people are affected disproportionately more from the housing crisis than others may be. So it's really something that kind of intersects with all of these other issues. And I also think it's really important for architects to take an active role in public policy and civic engagement and all of these other things, and kind of serve, like the AIAS stands for progress. And something that I'm really looking forward to doing this year is providing resources to chapters and kind of helping everybody take action a little bit more. I'm looking forward to a great year.
And we are looking forward to hearing all about all of this. This sounds absolutely fantastic. So if you guys have any questions about that, you know who to talk to, because now I know I have a lot of questions and I know who to talk to. And Haley Rogers could not be with us today. She has work, but I'm going to talk a little bit about her. So she is a former BGSU chapter president from 2018 to 2021, and she is currently a member at Clemson University. So her advocacy topic is actually reset. And the goal of this is to analyze the current narrative about sustainability. Right now, there is a consistent conversation saying that we need to make change, but with the general consensus that this is a necessity, not everyone is pursuing sustainable approaches in our profession. The goal of this topic, reset, will not be to ask why not, or will be to ask why not. This is to help understand the lack of action behind our requests for change. And over the next year, she plans on hosting conversations with architects and firms of all different scales to look at the limitations that they face when attempting to pursue sustainability and create an action plan for change. And Haley's on Slack, so if you got questions for her, hit her up on Slack. And then the next topic that we're going to be talking about is actually Advocacy Month. So 1 month a year, we have Advocacy Month typically on Instagram and a little bit on Facebook. And there's also a ton of information on the website for it. So the goal of Advocacy Month is to take some time to showcase how to make advocacy a tangible and productive tool, such that AIAS members and chapters can take action to tackle real issues in architecture school, in the profession, and also in our communities. The Sustainability Resiliency Task Force, Social Justice Task Force, Learning and Teaching Culture Advisory Group, and the 2020-2021 Advocates each spoke this past March, I believe, of their respective advocacy realms and how they can be addressed in day-to-day life. They highlighted the work that they've been doing all year, and it was really awesome to see all of the hard work that committees and also our advocates put in. All of these groups aim to educate and empower you, our members, and also helped show us how to use advocacy to make a difference. The national office also did a wonderful job of including 2 Thrive webinars during this month, which focused on taking action, making your voice heard, and also committee conversations, which was really another great way to hear about what committees were doing. So listed in these next few slides, we're going to showcase what we do during Advocacy Month. Each advocacy committee, as well as the advocates, gets time during the month to spotlight the things that they've been working on during their term. So I'm going to just go over in order of the images on the screen what each advocacy or task force advocates or task force did. So the advocates focused on topics of environmentalism, social justice, the social responsibility of architects, and also sustainable building methods. The Sustainability and Resiliency Task Force focused on topics such as environmental justice, sustainability and the pandemic, and also talking about sustainability methods and softwares, which was really interesting to hear about. And then this one's near and dear to my heart, the Social Justice Task Force. We worked together, yes, at putting together a advocacy packet, which is going to be coming out really, really soon for you guys to give you more advocacy resources. And we spoke about the different types of advocacy and the importance of each of these different types. And then the Learning, Teaching, Culture Advisory Group focused on education accessibility, learning and teaching culture policy, and also advocacy within culture. One super important thing to me to note when talking about this month of content is that each committee and each person gives a unique and diverse perspective on issues that we may not always get a full view on. So definitely go to our Instagram, check it out. There's so much information there. And this is what the Instagram actually looked like for each of the topics, each of the weeks. Okay, and then here are the 2020-2021 advocacy committees. I'm not going to read all of their charges and stuff because that's a bit long-winded, but we have the Social Justice Task Force, Sustainability and Resiliency Task Force, and then the Learning, Teaching, Culture Policy Group, Advisory Group. So these were the charges for the Social Justice Task Force, and you can actually find all of this online. So definitely read through these and think about if any of this stuff sounds interesting to you, because we're going to be doing a call for the next committees coming up soon as well. And then here was the information on the Sustainability and Resiliency Task Force and the Learning and Teaching Culture Advisory Group.
Awesome, thank you, Liz. So yeah, quick review of last year's committee. Love also that they had their own little logos out there, if you noticed that. So if you want to design a logo for an advocacy committee, make sure to sign up for one of those this year. So talking a little bit about this year's advocacy committee, this 2021-2022 advocacy committees. I won't reveal what they are right now, because again, that will happen at an event tomorrow night. But wanted to talk generally about their goals and the idea of the advocacy committees and committees in general. So if you're interested in serving on an advocacy committee or any committee, which all do amazing work throughout the whole year, like Liz said, they work on the advocacy month stuff, but also all their other charges in creating real resources for students to use and advocating to other allied organizations like the AIA, NCARB, ACSA, all those people. So it's also a great opportunity to expand your network within students and with professionals as well. So the committee interest form is going to be released tomorrow night at the leadership Q&A, and it is going to be due on Monday, August 9th. So go ahead and throw that into your calendar. It's a very important date. You can sign up to be a member of any of the committees, which again will be revealed tomorrow night at the Q&A. There's also some special committees which you could sign up to be the chair for if you'd like to try your hand at that. We love committee members that are really dedicated and have all kinds of different skill sets. So don't feel like you're not a good match for any of these committees, because we need any kind of student on any of these. So we can jump to the next slide. And I wanted to give a little sneak peek of the advocacy committees specifically. So again, not going to reveal the names, but these are their acronyms. So see if you can figure out anything based on that, but really excited for this year's committees. They're going to be amazing. I want to serve on all of them, but I don't have time for that. So some of y'all please do it for me and I'll be out here watching you.
And then our activity actually revolves around some of the questions that we spoke about during our presentation. So who is your advocate? What is you or your community's bigger picture? How do you advocate on a larger scale? What drives you to help your local and also global community? And then does your school have a studio culture policy? If so, what is it like? So I kind of just wanted to open this up kind of to everyone and just talk. I think it's always really important to hear everybody's different perspectives.
Yeah, so does anybody want to answer the top question, who is your advocate? Or I can answer it first. I would say that my advocate in a large part is myself. I like to get out there and talk about the things that I'm feeling as a student. and hope that it relates to other students. And that's kind of how I got into studio culture in the first place, when it was called studio culture, and now it's learning and teaching culture. So excited for all those changes. But so on a larger scale, I guess the AIS is my advocate. We love to see it, and the advocacy committees are always there and have great content for me that's really related to my own life. So those are my advocates.
Cool. Everybody needs an advocate, and everybody hopefully has one. So yeah, definitely you guys could talk about it super briefly, any of these topics.
Rachel and Sam, who are together, said studio representatives, which is an awesome answer. A lot of y'all have like class representatives or studio representatives, like a first year rep, second year rep, and they can definitely be your advocates, especially to your AIS board or even to your school, because they know more than anybody else what's going on within your studio. Like as a fourth year that's president of your chapter, you don't really know what's going on exactly in the second year studio. So absolutely, those are really, really important positions, and definitely somebody to point out.
Okay, and Lillian said, everyone can advocate for others, but you are your own best advocate because you understand your needs better than anyone. Still important to have people to back you up. I agree. I really like that. Not everybody understands what you're going through all the time. And then Robert said, AIAS class representatives. Those were super important. When I was a freshman, I was like, what the heck is happening? And then our representative was like, here, this is what's happening. And here's some free pizza also.
Love that vibe. Yeah, it's also really important to note on class representatives specifically that first year representatives are really important. Some chapters kind of wax and wane on whether they have first year reps, that kind of stuff, because they can be hard to find depending on your studio structure. But they're very important to just like, you can go into your first meeting of the year and say, who wants to be a first year rep, and pick like the first 3 people to raise their hands, and one of them will probably turn out great. But you definitely need to find some people that will represent your first years, because they're really disconnected, especially now more than ever, when people are coming into college and they don't know what it means to be an architecture student or to be in studio. You really need some representatives that can tell you, the first years are feeling this way. So super important.
Absolutely. Especially like, I feel like this past year is a prime example of that. Like freshmen, I guess last year rather, everyone was doing virtual, but at least we kind of had friends and we knew each other, where freshmen last year were like, oh, okay, let's talk to talking heads on Zoom all day. I don't know anyone. And I think it was really important to have representatives during that time. Does anybody want to talk about their school's learning teaching studio culture policy? If you have one.
Yeah, I would love to hear if anybody's like used their policy for a specific instance, a good example.
I can bring up a quick story about IIT. So I was the student rep for our Dean Search Committee in like 2018, 2019. Yada, yada, yada. Details don't matter. But we were in one of the meetings, and Scott, you actually inspired me to ask, because it was like the faculty and staff that like, had like the big roles in our admin. So I was like, oh, well, since we're buddies now, I'll ask them because it's easy. Oh, look at my face. And so I asked if we had like a studio culture policy or just something like a mission statement of some sort. And like the best response I got was, oh yeah, we have it written. It's just in a folder that only the admin have access to. So I was like, oh, great. Because I was like, I'm pretty nosy. So I like to know things and like bring points of AIS to like my chapter in my school. So then when, studio culture became a really big topic, like a few years back, into current day, I just thought that was really interesting because like I didn't feel like it was enforced, or if there even was one. Because I feel like I was like a third year by then. I was like, I feel like I should know if there is one by now. So yeah, like after that, I tried to work with a few people to like get it on some sort of like public forum website. Not much traction happened with that, but it was definitely nice to just know the answer of like, at least there was something, but it's just like the next step was to like actually implement it and get it public. So yeah, I just thought that was an interesting story that I like remember randomly sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually a really common thing, that, schools will say, oh yeah, we have a studio culture policy. It's way over here somewhere and you've never seen it before. So this is a good example of using existing like real policies for your own advocacy, because as a NAB accredited school, if your school was NAB accredited, they are required to have a studio culture policy, and it's required to be public access. So it needs to be on their website somewhere, something like that. So schools commonly, again, I want to express that faculty are not our enemies. They never are. We're all trying to work together for positive change. But sometimes schools think they can get away with, if they're in between accreditation periods, not having access public to their studio culture policies, that kind of thing. And so it's your job, again, as a student leader, to remind them, we need to see what these policies say. We need to be able to update it. Do that annually. Definitely look over it with your student, leaders, and also with some faculty leaders. Your AIAS faculty liaison is definitely a good point person for that. But yeah, that is something that's required of schools, to have it public access. So if you don't like reading the NAB criteria, that's okay. That's why the AIAS is here, to tell you these things. So now you know. And also love hearing from Lillian and Zach that y'all are formalizing studio culture policies and working on them. And thank you, Bailey, for sending again the link to the model policy. And again, we do have like a whole folder full of precedent from other schools. Like all these studio culture policies are in these folders on our drive. So if you want access to those, email ltc@ais.org, or you can email me and we'll get you access to that stuff.
Yeah, we have a lot of resources, so definitely take advantage of those. I know sometimes I didn't, especially when I was a newer member, but now that I found the resources, I find that I'm always looking at them. And I really like Rachel's comment that the University of Minnesota actually did a wellness week, which is super, super cool. We had a wellness day. So a whole week, that's incredible. From the hectic studio, taking a break from the hectic studio environment, and also hosted an engaging dialogue on mental health. That is really, really awesome.
Yeah, Philip, that's a rough thing to go through for sure. Just faculty coming in and changing something that's really monumental to your school and important to student life. And that is something that you can use studio culture policies, learning and teaching culture policies, to advocate against. And I feel like I am a broken record in saying this, but again, these policies are an agreement between faculty and administration and you. So that's where, the binding document part of this comes in, is because you get them to sign it and you sign it, and you're beholden to this agreement. So if they violate that, it's within your rights to, go over their head and go to your college administration, something like that, and say, this is a thing that's really important to student life in our school and to the way that our culture functions, and it's being taken away without our consent, and work on it that way. And that's a really important part of advocacy. And it's hard to do, for sure. But again, the AIAS is here to help you out. And if I need to fight anybody for you, I totally will. So email me anytime.
All right. So yeah, honestly, if you guys want to take a picture of this screen, because the screen is still up, right? If you want to take a picture of the screen and maybe put something on Instagram, put it on your story. You could even put it on your chapter's stories so that more of your members can see this kind of stuff, and tag us at AIS_advocacy. You can reach us. That was really corny. I'm sorry. You can reach us here all the time by DMing us or commenting on our stuff, as well as in Slack for all of us as well. And if anybody has any other things they want to talk about regarding these topics, that's awesome too. You guys have some really awesome insight, and we learn by listening to you. We're just floating heads here right now, but yeah, we're really eager to hear more about what you guys have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. So tag the Insta, yeah, take pictures of that slide. We can put it back up if y'all need us to. But we'll stick around just to talk about advocacy. If you have any more questions or situations going on at your school, we can stick around and talk about it. But we'll go ahead and relinquish control. We're ended a few minutes early, so come back at 2:30 to hear from the FBDAC. Very excited for that presentation, but you're all free. Go out and advocate for yourself.
Thanks, guys.